How hard will leveling in Shadowlands be if you are super undergeared? Right now, players around the world are scrambling for decent gear and consumables and more so they don't get smoked while leveling, and that's totally okay. I often do guides on how to prepare in advance for a patch or expansion so your experience is as easy as possible, but what if you're not as prepared? What if you just don't give a damn? Hey, it's Soul, and in this test I went out of my comfort zone and used a Night Elf Warrior that I leveled to 50 from questing. He's got an item level of 50, half of what you would otherwise get from farming catch-up gear during the pre-expansion events. I made 2 copies of this character on the Shadowlands beta so I can test the following. What is it like leveling, as if it was your very first character visiting the Shadowlands, and what is it like leveling if you're an alt? So strap in, let's go for a ride. Shadowlands begins with an introduction through the Maw, an inhospitable place full of bad guys, and, well, I was pretty weak. You pull too much, you get stomped. And I did this experience twice, once in Fury Spec and once in Protection, and the experience didn't feel any less deadly. But something I noticed in this testing that I never noticed before, like on my super geared Paladin or on the much more capable pre-made characters, is that you are never ever alone. You're always accompanied by an NPC, or 2 NPCs, or a whole group of them. Just for good measure, you also have a 3-minute extra action button to summon more friends to help you out. And these NPCs don't mess around either. They do good damage, they tank mobs, they heal you too. I didn't test this, but you can probably complete the intro naked, so don't worry about the Maw at all. It's just a big escort quest, and whether you realize it or not, you're the one being escorted all the way through. Once you're done with the introduction, this is where paths diverge depending on the circumstances. First-time players will be funneled into the full Shadowlands leveling experience. Alts can optionally run the Threads of Fate, more open-ended leveling where you can sort of do whatever you want. New players will enter Bastion and go through a little bit of roleplay as they understand all the new wackiness that will soon be the new normal. Odds are very good that by the time you're on a quest that actually involves normal combat, you'll be level 51, so that's a nice boost. I did expect a little bit more friction when encountering mobs alone, but I found the experience to be very normal. I mean, yeah, I am in tank spec here, but I wasn't struggling as much as I thought I would. I completed this quest and received a piece of gear that had nearly doubled the item level of the previous piece, so hey, sweet. But I wanted to challenge myself a little bit more. I progressed to another quest, got a little bit more reckless, but I didn't have any problems again. Okay. There it is, yes. At last, Guardian. Now we dance. So I took on a rare after a lot of searching. It was pretty tough, but not too tough that I couldn't handle it. As I was standing over its corpse, I concluded my testing here because, as you quest, mobs may get tougher, but you're obtaining gear from quest rewards. Basically, this was as hard as it was going to get. The early experience is the most critical, and so far, it feels pretty satisfying. It shouldn't come as any surprise that leveling is balanced around the likelihood that characters will be poorly geared. The preparation that we players are doing now is an investment into speed and not so much survival. But for those without that go-go-go mentality, they can feel reassured that Blizzard did not leave them behind. One thing to add though, in order to queue for dungeons you need an item level of 80, and dungeons unlock as you quest through the zones. Okay, so what about alts? My second warrior dropped in rockin' a single-minded Fury spec using a dagger for added desperation. He chose the Threads of Fate option, which again lets him level in whatever order he wants, and to choose a Covenant straight away. I decided to choose the Venthyr Covenant for this test, and the immediate action that came to my mind was, well, to find a world quest or something easy that coughed up a weapon. Unfortunately, there was none, except for a very difficult group quest that even geared max level players would have a hard time surviving. So I went for one of those wanted quests that ask you to kill a certain NPC. Once again, I expected a brutal takedown between my lack of skill, my spec, my weapons, and item level. I got this! Yes! Ha ha! How's that for not knowing what buttons I'm pressing? And yet, as you can see, I prevailed, although, well, I was pretty beat up. Feeling confident though, I roamed the land for a bit, completing a few extra objectives for a few pieces of much needed gear. I finally ran into a rare over in Maldraxxus. It wasn't a straightforward fight though, I needed to use like these bombs throughout the area in order to break its shield, but again, I came through. You got this. You can do it. A little more. Oh, stun, come on. Yes! Haha! And I got some pretty awesome gear too. Just like before, I stopped my testing about here because this was just about as hard as the leveling was going to get. Once again, I was pleasantly surprised and not surprised. I did expect that in this scenario, as an alt, the experience would be balanced around maybe getting a few BOEs or crafted pieces supplied from my main, but it turns out the gear made more of a difference in speed and not whether it was possible to level. Like earlier, you need an item level of 80 to queue up for dungeons using the Looking for Dungeon tool, but in this case for alts you can queue up for any of the 4 leveling dungeons once you meet this requirement. To be blunt, this is just leveling, and here the bar of survival is set pretty low to ensure that players are more engrossed into the story and environment rather than the challenge of surviving from encounter to encounter. To be fair, my experience in testing this content over the past 6 months gives me some bias. I know the terrain, where not to go, and how most mobs behave, but in my opinion I'm saying that for the sake of saying it, not because I think that makes a huge difference. Can an Undergeared character jump straight into the Shadowlands? Absolutely. Your experience entering the Shadowlands will not be this desk-pounding series of corpse runs. Early questing is designed to provide gear as you go, and for alts using the Threads of Fate, there's plenty of activities to choose from. Of course, it's not a brain-dead activity either. There's lots to enjoy, and plenty of things that can kill your butt if you're not careful. I do hope this bit of research was helpful. If so, please like the video, spread the word, and subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.